So guys, it wasn't even that long ago that we got the Prairie Fire creator DLC for Arma 3, and well, turns out this week we got another one. This one is actually called Iron Curtain, and once again, it's themed on the Cold War. So guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's check it out. Alright guys, how you going? Welcome to the video, and like I said, today we're going to be taking a look at the new Arma 3 creator DLC, Iron Curtain, which I've got to admit came completely out of the blue, but that's alright. I'm always happy to take a look at new content when it comes out. So the question is then, is this one actually any good? Well, we're going to get into that in just a bit, but before we do though, please, if you do like what you see, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Not only does it really mean a lot to me, but it also makes a huge difference when it comes to making sure the video's not getting buried in the algorithm and actually ending up in your recommended feed. So thank you so much for helping me out. All right, so to kick off, what is Iron Curtain anyway? And well, like I said, it's another Cold War DLC set in Europe, so pretty much a lot like Global Mobilization was. Except that this one focuses on the USA versus Czechoslovakia, which for me, I think is actually a bit more of an interesting theme. Now, as well as those two factions, there's also a Green 4 Rebel faction as well, which kind of has a mix of gear from both sides. And within those factions, there's quite a few different types of units as well, including my favorite US Special Forces, complete with their trademark skateboard helmets. Now, these units are equipped with mid-80s period weapons and gear, some of which are definitely up to the standard of what we've seen in the previous creator DLCs. But the problem is a lot of the new gear seems to be ported just straight from Arma 2, and not just that, but there's no integrated sound mod either in this one like there was in Prairie Fire. Now, as well as that though, I've got to say there is a good selection of cars and armoured vehicles which are pretty detailed, and there's even a few helicopters as well. But unfortunately, there really isn't any planes, and we'll get into this in just a bit, but if you want to do proper combined arms operations with this DLC, you might have to look at adding mods. Now, speaking of operations, well, one thing I really want to mention is that unfortunately Iron Curtain doesn't have a campaign, but what it does have though is a bunch of single player scenarios that showcase pretty much everything you can do in the DLC. For example, there's all the same types of scenarios you'd expect to see in just about every Arma DLC. There's a sniper one and a tank one and quite a few others as well, and a lot of them revolve around commanding AI troops, which honestly I think is a massively underutilized feature in this game, so that was really good to see. Another thing I really should mention is that a lot of these single player scenarios actually have dynamic elements. For example, some are just straight up dynamic choose your own adventure style missions, and some change the location every time you restart. Now, not just that, but there's also a showcase mission called Expo 85, which spawns you at the airbase and allows you to check out all of the new vehicles. And you can even generate dynamic missions in that one as well. I mean, it's not Mike Force, but it's a nice touch, and it's a good way to experience what this DLC has to offer pretty easily. So moving on, look, honestly, I've got to say everything we've talked about so far is clearly a bit hit or miss, especially compared to Prairie Fire, but really where Iron Curtain redeems itself is the new map called Gabretta, which is apparently a 256 kilometer square landlocked map based on the Czech countryside. From what I can see, there's at least a couple of airfields on the map, and there's a good selection of different objective types as well, including military outposts and towns. So pretty much as long as you're not trying to build something based around naval operations, you're going to be able to build pretty much anything you'd ever want in the editor on this map. Now, really the big issue though is that unfortunately this is just the most recent in a ton of maps based on that part of the world. I mean, Livonia pretty much is the same kind of thing, and there's a lot of other really similar woodland European maps available as well on the workshop, like for example, Chernarus or Roche. And that kind of leads me to the next point, which is that if all this DLC is adding is another European woodland map and a bunch of reskinned Arma 2 assets, is it really worth it? Because even at 15 Australian dollars, which admittedly is half the price of Prairie Fire, it's still kind of hard to justify. Now, I don't really do this in review videos because most of the time when I choose to review something, it's because I am going to tell you it's worth it. It's because I like it. But in this video, I want to suggest not only a couple of mods you can run alongside Iron Curtain, but some mods that basically do the same thing and basically might make you think otherwise about buying this DLC. And first up is obviously RHS, which I think most of you have probably heard of before. It's probably one of the better quality faction mods on the workshop. And in a nutshell, it adds pretty much all of the vehicles, weapons, and gear that you're going to find in Iron Curtain, plus a lot more as well. Now, the big issue with that, though, is that RHS obviously isn't based on the Cold War. And well, the good news is there's actually some solutions to that as well. A lot of people don't actually realize that 3CB factions actually reskins a lot of those RHS assets to make them fit with a Cold War US and Cold War Soviet theme. And look, 3CB is probably one of, and if not the best quality faction mod development team out there. So in a lot of cases, their US assets are going to be even better than Iron Curtain's. And also I should mention, there's another really good mod that adds in Cold War Czech forces called Cold War CSLA, which you might want to think about mixing in as well, or just like I said, just using instead of Iron Curtain altogether. Now, that actually brings me to the last point I want to talk about, which is what we're going to do about Iron Curtain when it comes to my dynamic mission, which is called Direct Action. And look, for those of you that are keeping up to date with that project, you guys know that we went all out with Prairie Fire, but we actually had to design Direct Action Vietnam alongside Unsung as well, just to add in the extra assets that weren't in the creator DLC. So what we're going to do with Direct Action Cold War is something pretty similar. We're going to design it around RHS and 3CB, but we're going to give you guys the option to run it with Iron Curtain as well. And not just that, but we're going to go back and do the same thing for Global Mobilization as well. So all up, with both DLCs running and the mods as well, there'll be something like 9 different factions to play as or fight against. As for the maps though, well, like I said, Roche already kind of fits this theme, and that's something we were already looking at configuring for DA anyway. So that was already going to be coming anyway, but now with Iron Curtain in the mix, we'll definitely be adding support for Gabretta as well. And by the way, and this is something that I'm actually pretty excited about, adding Cold War forces to DA actually opens the door for us to do a lot more fun stuff when it comes to themes of that time period. Like, I don't know, maybe Desert Storm, maybe something else in the 80s to 90s range. If you've got a good idea for a Cold War setting that you'd like to see in Direct Action, please let me know down below. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this quick review. So as always, please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And also, if you want to check out Direct Action, or if you just don't know what I'm talking about in the first place, I'll leave some links down below in the description so you can check that out. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the links on screen now and in the description if you want to see some more of my videos. And also, don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And until next time, see you later and have a good one.